Your brain is constantly trying to help you survive, either physically or emotionally. All day, every day. The only thing your mind, your brain is doing is trying to help you survive, right? Ensuring that your physiological needs and physical state is good, is healthy, right? And that means you eat, you sleep, you hydrate, etc., right? And that your emotional mental health state is also good, right? And when it needs something, it lets you know in its own way. It sends you hunger, it sends you thirst, right? The problem being that because we're not informed about mental health, we aren't given information about our mind isn't given the relevant information about how to maintain mental health. It's not informed on emotional needs, right? And so there's a lot of information missing. So we know as a humanity how to maintain, how to fulfill the physical part, the physiological part every single day. Every single day you get a hunger pang, you know what to do with it. The mental health part, we're lacking. It's very much lacking, right? Because we have these two, but when one isn't taught, right? When one is not taught, when one is not informed in a very relevant way the world over, there's a massive amount of information missing, right? And so this space is about talking about that and learning and giving our mind the information that we need, right? To help to go out into the world to exist and know how to fulfill both our physiological and our mental health needs so that we can go out into the world and our mind can give us all the relevant information and we're not constantly bogged down by things like anxiety and stress and insecurity, right? The point of mental health is to fulfill in a whole way, for you to feel whole. You're not completely whole if you don't know how to fulfill half of your humanity, half of your needs, right? And so, where do we start? Let's think about a pattern. So let's talk about patterns, right? There's a very basic pattern, and these patterns, I'm going to share technically three patterns with you. And these patterns are simplified. These patterns are the patterns that I'm giving you for purposes of kind of hurrying this along in a way that's not too complicated, okay? There's more to these, right? And so there is a need, there's a feeling, there's a thought, and there's an action. I'm really going to try to fit all this in here. Okay, so there's a need, there's a feeling, there's a thought, and there's an action, right? And every single day, we use this exact pattern. We live in this pattern every single day. And that pattern is a pattern that we can use to help us understand where we are, right? If we're hungry, I need to eat so that you fulfill and that hunger goes away and so that you're good, right? So that you're not in a place of so you understand my body needs this. I need this. My body needs this. My mind needs this. Let me fulfill. Let me go, right? So, for example, when it comes to our physiological needs, there's a need for food. Your body sends you hunger, right? That you register through thought. I'm hungry. And that you fulfill by eating. Need, feeling, thought, action. Every single day without fail. When your body needs water, right? It sends you a very specific feeling, thirst, that you register through thought and that you fulfill through action. You hydrate, right? This is a fulfillment pattern, okay? This is a fulfillment pattern. We like fulfillment pattern. We want to be in fulfillment pattern all the time because it is the means by which we fulfill and we move on with our day, right? We want to be there with all of our needs. The mental and the physiological. We want to be there with all of them so that we're not bogged down and we can just carry on, right? So let's see if it fits. Does it fit? I think it fits. This is fulfillment, right? What happens when instead of action, there's inaction? I'm writing this kind of small. I hope y'all can see it because I'm going to try to fit a lot of information in this one board today. And so what happens when instead of eating, you know there's a need, you register the hunger, you register what's going on and what you need to do. But what happens if you don't eat? If you don't eat, your system's still going to tell you, hey, wait, there's something going on. No, we need to eat. It's not going to go away because you need fulfillment. Your body needs fuel. It's going to send you another symptom, right? So if you don't eat and there's no action, what's going to happen? You might get hangry, right? You might get hangry. That pattern, right? If instead of action, there's inaction, that is a deficiency pattern. I don't know where it's going to fit. Let's see if I make this go up a little bit. I'm going to try to shift it. No, I think I just made it worse. I just made it go down. Hold on. Did it work? No, it's like this. I think it was better before. Okay, it's okay. I'm just going to leave it. Oh, that totally covered it up now. What did I do? Hold on, let me lift this up and see if that sort of helps. No, it was way better before. I was fighting with my phone. Okay. This little thing kind of... Okay, well, you all know, right, that... hold on, let me lift this up. That if you long press on the screen... There, I'm just going to leave it there. That if you long press on the screen, you can, the comments and everything goes away, right? So try to do that so you can see everything. So that's the fulfillment pattern. If there's inaction, you're in deficiency. Okay, this is a deficiency pattern. All right, this part is a deficiency pattern when the action isn't there. Okay, so those two patterns are really important, right? Because those patterns are informed in your childhood. You didn't just wake up one day. Is it totally crooked? I'm just gonna leave it like that. This pattern, every single day you know how to fulfill, and you fulfill it so very well, automatically. You don't even perceive this pattern happening. Whether you're in deficiency or in fulfillment and the hunger goes away, you don't even perceive it. You don't sit there and do mental math. You don't sit there thinking, I'm hangry, right? Wait, there's this need. I have to do this. You don't sit there doing math. It just, because your mind was so relevantly informed, right? In your childhood, in your interactions with your caregivers, over and over and over and over and over. You were fed, right? And your mind began to form associations. Right? And it wasn't just given information. It was given information immediately. Repeatedly. And consistently. Every single time, right, that you needed food. There was a response. There was an adequate response. There was a fulfillment response over and over and over. As soon as you were hungry, you were fed, right? It was repeated. The same information was repeated over and over, and the same information was consistent. It was consistent. And so your mind learned to form proper healthy associations over and over and over and over so that today you know what to do. Hunger pops up, you've eaten too much, you also know what to do with that. You've eaten too little, you know what to do with that. You've eaten something that's bad for you, you know what to do with all of the feelings that come with this very significant need because you were informed immediately, repeatedly, and consistently. Your mind. Now, why does that matter? Why does it matter when we're talking about mental health? Well, because this part, this very significant part right here, that thought you weren't born with. That thought that allows you to inform yourself when you've eaten too little and says, hey, wait, we ate too little, let's eat something else. Or when you've eaten too much and it tells you, hey, wait, okay, we've eaten too much, take a break, right? Or I've eaten something that's bad for me. Oh, okay, I've eaten something bad, let me do this. That thought that you register and you don't even perceive because you're so used to it, that thought you weren't born with. You weren't born with that thought. Which means that all of the thoughts that come and pop up when you doubt yourself, when you think you're not enough, when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling angry, every single one of those thoughts, in the same sense, you weren't born with. It is a reaction. It is a response that your mind is giving to you to inform you about the moment, to inform you about your basic needs, physiological or emotional. Your mind is always trying to help you survive, right? And in that moment, when you're in that place, that information, everything that you get, even if it's that thought that tells you you're not enough, your mind is trying to inform you about something, right? So how did this get registered? And this is vital, right? This is vital for those moments when we're overly stressed, when we're overwhelmed, when we're overthinking, when we're self-doubting, right? And we're worried about pursuing an opportunity, right? Those moments that cause us not to pursue opportunities. It's extremely irrelevant to understand where these thoughts come from so that you can inform yourself and take back control from those moments, right? And so where did that thought come from? That thought was informed by an earlier pattern, a very relevant pattern in our childhood, right? In our childhood, there was a need, there was a feeling, and there wasn't just a thought, there was an action, okay? There was an action. When we were little, we weren't just thinking for ourselves, we were just critically thinking. We didn't know that food was a thing that we needed. We didn't know that hunger is hunger. We didn't know the feeling that we got with hunger. Right? That you knowing exactly the feeling of hunger, that was an association that was formed, right? We didn't know that. We didn't know that when we were tiny. We learned it through interactions. And so when we're tiny, what happens is the need and the feeling, we're born with the need and feeling. We're born with this part, we're not born with this part. Okay? But everything is an association that we're in. So when we're tiny, the need pops up, right? We need food. We feel hunger. We don't know what it is. Babies don't know what it is. Little ones just cry. They cry. That's what they do. And then what happens? How are they relevantly informed and fulfilled? They don't do it for themselves. Who does it? Parents. Parents respond. Right? Parents respond. This is the focal point. This is extremely important. How did your parents respond? Right? How did your parents respond? Well, they fed you. They fed you. They feed you. And so what happens? Your mind registers it. This thing popped up, right? We sent this feeling. We cried. It was fulfilled, right? It was fulfilled. Fulfillment. That pattern worked. The thing that we just did worked. So we're going to keep that. Fulfillment. Right? And so your mind keeps doing the same thing. It got fulfillment. Right? Absolutely. Absolutely, Frosty, 100%. And so it gains fulfillment. And so why does that matter? Why? Because your mind isn't just going to keep coming up with ways of doing it. It found one. It worked. This thing popped up. We sent the signal. We did this thing. We got fed. We were fulfilled. We're going to keep this. We're going to keep doing this thing. We're going to keep doing this thing, right? And so the mind registers that. The mind registered, okay, there was fulfillment. This worked. This worked. Right? And so that's important because your mind is going to keep doing the thing until it learns an improved or more efficient way of asking, of changing the pattern so that maybe you get it quicker, right? You get fulfillment quicker, you get fulfillment in a better, more improved way. It's going to keep doing it until you get better information. Right? It's just going to keep doing it until you get better info. There's no space. Right? Until better info. Right? Until better info. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, right, little one gets a little older, because when baby needs to be changed, it's the same thing. The different feeling might pop up. It's just discomfort. They don't know. They're going to do the same thing. They cry. They cry whether they need to be changed, they need to be held, whether they need to be fed, right? It's parents who here are informed. They might not know if baby's hungry, or if baby needs this, or if baby needs that. But they respond with everything just in case, until baby calms down, until baby is fulfilled, right? So in the beginning, this works. And so the mind keeps suggesting the same response, the same action, because it keeps getting fulfilled. And so they keep doing this, right? With a little more time, it's established this pattern. With a little more time, and as the child's capacity grows, as our capacity grows to do more things, baby learns to ask for it in a different way, right? At the beginning, it's just crying for everything. You cry for food, you cry to be held, you cry for sleep, right? With time, the brain learns a new response, a new way of acting. Now, instead of just crying because parents do all these other things and they don't know which one I need, let me ask for it, or let me motion, right? So that way there's a response, there's a different response, and it becomes a more efficient, more detailed response to the specific need. Maybe baby asks for BB. I don't know. I'm just giving examples, right? And so, right, baby registers, wait, instead of crying, now that we've gained the capacity to ask for it in a specific way, I'm going to give you an example, and that's just asking for BB, right? You're asking for the BB in Spanish. Their bottle, that's how we call it in Spanish. Right? Asking for BB, your mind registers, wait, fulfillment. This was quicker fulfillment because we asked for it directly, and right, it was an easier way, right? And then maybe they ask for food, right? They get a little older, now they ask for food. Now the mind gets it even quicker. The mind is going to keep registering information depending on how, right? It's gonna keep doing the same thing, informing itself on all of the variations of how to fulfill it, and it's gonna change that pattern when it gets better information on how to fulfill it. Now, right? This is why today, as an adult, you're able to fulfill so effectively, so efficiently, without question, every single day. Countless tiny bits and pieces of information, right? First, you had a very general response. Now you know all sorts of ways of how to respond to your need for food without even perceiving the patterns behind it, right? Maybe one day you don't have the capacity, right? Because maybe you're tired, or maybe you're this, or maybe you're that, or maybe you're sick, right? Your mind has a multitude of ways of understanding your need for food and fulfilling it, right? And that came to be today from a whole lot of information that was picked up, and your mind picking up different forms and more efficient ways and ways of not doing it, right? That is why now we can all sit at a dining room table with friends and family and know exactly how to react and know exactly how to respond, and nobody snatches food from somebody else's hands, right? Because that pattern was informed so relevantly in our childhood, immediately, repeatedly, and consistently, so that our mind picked up the relevant info and associated it. Okay? Now, when it comes to mental health, we don't talk about mental health. We don't talk about mental health. We don't talk about mental health, and we definitely don't talk about mental health having very specific emotional needs needed to maintain mental health on an everyday basis. We know we have a basic need for food every day, sleep, right? Hydration, etc. But if you go and you ask your neighbor what needs they have, what basic mental health needs they have to maintain their mental health, they're going to look at you like you're nuts. What? What? Right? And so the thing is, parents aren't informed about the emotional, mental health side of this, right? So, right, maybe baby has, and so wait, I'm trying to remember how I wrote the thing so that it's all kind of streamlined. And so we have basic, right, survival. Here's how I'm gonna do it. Survival means physiological needs and emotional needs. Okay? Physical needs and emotional needs. This is what you were born with, period. That's it, right? And these physical needs require very specific relief, as do these. The difference being that we were taught very well what the physical needs and the specific relief is. If you need food, you have to eat. You have to, right? If you need sleep, you have to rest. If you need water, you have to hydrate. Nothing is going to be able to fulfill it, right? And that is why today we fulfill our physiological needs so perfectly, so well, automatically, no questions, mental math, done. When it comes to the emotional end, that's not the case. Emotional safety, attention, acceptance, validation, affection, and support. That's absolutely not the case. Because what happens, right? What happens when baby needs attention? No, I'm actually gonna, let's leave it as attention. Right? There's a very specific feeling baby feels. Baby cries, because baby cries for all these other things and it works. Baby cries. Attention. They feel it, they cry. What does parent do? What does parent do? Does parent know how to respond? Does parent understand that baby needs to feel, right? Baby is learning emotional safety, attention, right? How and when they're going to feel emotionally safe to express, how and when they're going to be perceived, how and when they're going to be received, how and when their internal world is going to be deemed valid, how and when they're going to be receiving affection, how and when they're going to be asked for support. No, because we don't recognize that as a humanity, right? But your brain is very detailed and it's still going to be searching for that information, right? And so what happens, right? Sometimes maybe parents respond. Sometimes maybe parents respond. But sometimes, I'd say often, they don't, right? Maybe they ignore, right? And think about a toddler. Like, let's perceive this, we're talking about a toddler now, because it's easier to kind of like, baby cries. Maybe baby reaches their arms out, right? What does parent respond? Because again, right, we don't understand our mental health is very detailed. We don't understand and perceive mental health as all of these parts that all have to be informed. Think about water and food, right? A parent who doesn't understand that a child has a need for water and food might perceive those as the same thing, but they're absolutely not. They're very essential and they're vital and they're two different things. They're supposed to be ingested, but they're different, right? It's kind of like this. We don't understand we have these, much less do we separate them, much less do we know how to inform someone who's tiny. And so that means what, right? Maybe parent responds, right? In different ways, maybe dismissing it, right? Maybe rejecting it. Maybe just ignoring, maybe getting angry, right? Because they're frustrated, they don't know why baby's crying. They don't know how to distinguish these. They just know, and it's because they were also never informed. And so instead of the one response, they might give different responses because they don't know, right? And so instead of fulfillment, the mind is just going to register deficiency. That didn't work. Okay, we need this thing. We sent the message, baby cried, but that didn't work. That didn't work, right? And when as a humanity we don't acknowledge that we have these, and they're all distinct and they're all important and they must all be informed in an immediate, consistent, and repeated manner, our brain is going to get deficient, right? That didn't work. That didn't work. That didn't work. That didn't work. That also didn't work. That didn't work. Over and over and over and over and over and over and over, right? From when you're tiny to when you're a toddler, to when you're over and over. So what happens? Instead of your mind registering, okay, this is good info, this worked, let's keep doing this, let's keep informing this in all the possible ways, let's learn these new things, right? And when a new thing comes up, we'll add that to the mix. Now we don't have to cry, we can ask for it, depending on the age. Instead of that, we just get a whole bunch of mixed responses because, right, different things may have worked at some times and sometimes they don't work. And so there's deficiency, massive sense of deficiency. Your mind is registering a bunch of different types of responses. Some of them may have worked, some of them didn't. Sometimes they did work, sometimes the same thing. And so instead of just gaining info on that one very specific pattern for that need, instead, there's a massive lack of info. Does that fit? I don't think it does. Instead, there's a massive lack of info. Did that fit? Great. And irrelevant info associated to your needs, right? Because instead of your mind just continuing the pattern and changing it whenever there's better information, right? Just changing it whenever there's better information, it's basically just going to take and stick with whatever gains you some sense of fulfillment. Whatever gives you, it's not about fulfillment anymore because nothing really works because we don't know we have basic emotional needs, right? So the response is so different in so many different ways that your mind is just going to stick with, okay, let's just hold on to the information that gives us any sense of relief. Any sense of relief, even if it's just 5 or 10%, right? And that's just a number I'm making up. But instead of having, okay, this is fulfillment, let's just improve on this fulfillment and how we can get this fulfillment. No, it's, okay, well, let's stick with whatever gets us any sense of relief, which leads to insecurity. Because your mind wasn't focused on basic emotional needs. This is the relevant information. This is how it is fulfilled. Never got that. There's a massive lack of information. We never learned fulfillment. We never got the relevant info. And now there's a bunch of irrelevant info that becomes associated, right? Because it's not about fulfillment. It's about, okay, well, let's just store the information that gets us some relief. You're only going to be seen and heard if you're beautiful, if you're attractive. You're only going to be valued if you're intelligent. You're only going to matter if you have this much money. You're only going to matter if you get the perfect grades. You're only going to be emotionally safe if you don't set boundaries. You're only going to be supported, loved, if you're X, Y, and Z. Which is how we all end up in insecurity, right? And this is why I focus on insecurity often, because insecurity, right? If we think about this, if we think about these, every single one of these has a basic, right? There's a very specific feeling. Every single one of these is a need. Every single one has a very specific feeling that we never learned to register. Every single one requires a specific thought and an action to fulfill. Right? Let me make this shorter. That's what we were supposed to get. We didn't. We didn't get it. We didn't get the relevant info. It was too all over the place. It was way too all over the place. We wound up here. Our mind only registered the basic, anything that got us any form of relief. Right? Eat that cake. We don't feel good. We don't have good info, but we know that we feel good when we eat that cake. So just eat the cake. And we develop issues with these type of things. Be in that toxic relationship. You need that person to feel good. Right? And our sense of feeling good becomes attached to all. Our sense of feeling good becomes attached to this irrelevant info. And that's the false need. And that is the problem. power, control, toxic relationships, no boundaries. All of them rooted in insecurity, information insecurity. If you're thinking about a digital defense system, bad information is going to mean that there's an insecurity in that digital defense system. That's your mind. Your mind and the information that it has is how it keeps you surviving. But when it only got the physical needs part, never the emotional needs part, you're constantly facing insecurity. Every feeling that's uncomfortable, every thought that you do not like that holds you back, every action that you partake in that you would that doesn't serve you, all of them derived from that information insecurity, right? And so what happens is inaction. Just like up here, when you do not act, right? You're in that deficiency pattern. You're in that place of anger, right? With these, we didn't get the relevant info. We didn't register the relevant feeling. We didn't register the relevant thought, nor how to act in a proper way to fulfill ourselves. Instead, we wind up in insecurity. And that looks like anxiety. I don't know how to spell sometimes. Anxiety, stress, self-doubt. On an individual level, that's what it looks like. Anxiety, stress, self-doubt. Every single obstacle, they're not actually obstacles. Every single obstacle, these aren't obstacles. We perceive them as obstacles, and that is a part of the problem. When you perceive overthinking as an obstacle, it becomes a problem. Perceiving it as part of a solution, this is a part of the solution. When you learn to understand this is a part of your mental math, of your mental wiring, this is just a signal your mind is sending you. It's the only thing it knows to send you, to try to get you to understand, hey, there's a whole thing that we're not fulfilling, but it doesn't have the information, never got the relevant information. It needed to fill in all the blanks so that you would be informed today. So you just wind up here. Perceiving it as an obstacle is problematic. It's not an obstacle. These are all a part of the solution, right? Because these are connected to how you respond to your needs. Right? And the sooner you start acknowledging that these are actually just a part of this equation, then you can start fulfilling. You don't start running away. You don't run away from these. These aren't to be avoided. They are a part of the solution, right? And that is why when you act on these become fulfilled. But if you see these as a problem, you're not going to read what they're actually trying to tell you. And it's going to take you longer to form the pattern to gain fulfillment. Right? There's a lot of people who think something like overthinking is a problem. Don't overthink. Do this thing. And the overthinking, that's why the overthinking keeps coming back. That's why the anxiety keeps coming back. That's why the self-doubt keeps coming back. In order to change it, you have to work with it. It's a part of the solution. Anxiety, stress, and self-doubt are your mind informing you, hey, we have a need. It's so hard to tell my truths, feel paralyzed. Absolutely. Because, Frosty, right? Because we have been taught to perceive these things as a threat. We have been taught to perceive these things as a threat, right? We've been taught, hey, you're crying, you don't feel good, run away from it, don't think about it. You are weak if you feel. You are weak if you feel. You are weak if you think about you or feel. You are weak if you express. You're weak. If you try to understand your basic emotional needs, which is like telling you you're trying to survive, how dare you try to survive? It's quite nuts. But anyway, instead of relevant information, we got dismissal, rejection, anger. How dare you share? How dare you share what this is? Your inner workings, right? And so our mind registered, don't do it. Don't share your feelings. That's not good. Don't share how you feel. Don't share your truth. That's bad. We get bad feelings. We get bad feelings when we try to express, when we try to feel safe, when we try to feel perceived, when we try to feel received, seen and heard, valid internally, right? Your emotional and mental health is about your statement, your interaction with your environment. It's like your existence is a statement. And so your early interactions are about how you are safe to express yourself, how and when you're safe to feel, to be given awareness, to be perceived, to be accepted, how and when your internal world is going to be deemed valid, etc., right? And so our mind has picked up irrelevant information. No, this is bad. We can't sit with feelings. We can't talk about feelings. We can't admit these things. We can't sit with these things. And so it feels like a threat. It feels like a threat because that's how society has taught you to perceive yourself, your own mental health. The society has taught us the exact opposite of what we're supposed to be doing. That's why we have wars. We are brilliant. Human beings are brilliant. We can go in here and find answers to so many things, right? But we have been taught to do the exact opposite, right? And so if you don't eat, you're hangry. Imagine everybody walking around hangry. We're not going to get anything solved. Everybody's going to be hangry at everybody all the time, and we're not going to get things done, and we're not going to be productive. That's where we are with the emotional side. That is why wars exist, because people don't know how to talk and value each other. That's it, right? And so this is at a breathe. This is at a psychological level. This is at the individual level. This is what it looks like individually. There's a lack of info. There's all this space that wasn't filled, right? And irrelevant info that forms insecurity. Every time you get an insecurity, it's just signaling these two things, right? Which is why we play the mind game. I thought I was going to get a chance to go into it. We're not. We're not going to go into it. But that's at an individual psychological level. When enough of these people, which is basically everybody, gets together at a sociological level, I thought it would fit. At a sociological level, when enough of these people get together, white supremacy, I can't spell, supremacy, imperialism, capitalism, patriarchy, ableism. These are structures. That's how they're built. At the individual level, and when people get together with enough of this, that's how these are built. These are all built on this. And this massive lack of information. These two things lead to this. And when you're alone, you do this. And when you get together with others who feel the same way and have the power and the authority, this happens. White supremacy says what? I deserve to be seen and heard. You don't deserve to be seen and heard. You're not enough. That's rooted in people being insecure in themselves because they weren't taught how to value other people because they weren't valued. Imperialism, I got to take away this land and your resources because you don't matter, right? I have the right because because I don't see you, right? What makes me feel emotionally safe is taking this away from you. You don't matter. Capitalism, I need to exploit you. I need to exploit you for dollars. So that, right? And you can never stand up for yourself because I matter, you don't matter. Because I was taught, right? I was fed through all these insecurities. That makes me reinforce it. Ableism, right? The only problem for disabled people in the world, physically disabled people, is the able-bodied people who don't see and hear the needs of the disabled. Because they weren't taught to see and hear everybody else, right? The people who were differently able than them. Patriarchy, right? These all exploit this, all of them. You have to have an insecurity in order for these to exist. You have to. I'm better than you. I need this more than you, right? Same thing here, right? I'm stronger than you. No, I'm stronger than you. I'm more capable than you. I'm more civilized than you. And all of it is rooted in poor mental health. All of it, right? And so the solution to addressing this is yes, please screenshot it. Have at it. And I wish I had more space. I don't have that much more space. But, right, that's why from here, the solution to this, I don't know if you can see it. I'm running out of space. The solution, this is the thing. This is the thing that we got to focus on. The solution to this is the mind game on multiple levels. And I reiterate the mind game on multiple levels because you may perceive the mind game as repetitive. And I repeat this a lot. I repeat a lot of information a lot. But do you remember the only reason this came to be so efficiently and so automatically is because your mind received the immediate, repeated, and consistent responses over and over and over. And when you do it for yourself, even if it's mind-numbing, if it's becoming mind-numbing for you to play the mind game, that's a good thing. You're informing your mind and you're playing it over and over and over. Every single element of the mind game is designed for this to be formed, for your mind to gain all the relevant information immediately, repeatedly, and consistently, to start forming all the associations that it never got, right? And, right, it functions on a number of levels, but the mind game is supposed to help you form all those associations depending on, right, how we were informed as children about our physiological needs. It's also using the information that we already have. It's right. We're strategy. This is a strategy. It is a strategy, and it's a strategy on multiple levels. Yesterday, I was talking about how the mind game is also relevant because you know your mind does not know these, and it does not have very much information about it. We're just starting to flesh that out, right? If you're participating at home in your own moments, you're just starting to flesh it out, right? And so we want to find strategies that help us get there quicker because we're brilliant and we're human, and we know that we can do that. How? You use information that you already know that your mind has. Your mind is rich in associations. Use those associations to inform this process. How? Your mind already knows what a crime scene is. Your mind has been informed on those 5 elements over and over and over and over again through movies, through books, television, in real life, in articles about crime scene. That's why I use the mind. I mean, I formed the mind game in my mind because, right, I'm an attorney. I loved watching all the SVU, like all the, like, right, Law and Order, the crime scene, the victim. You know exactly what a crime scene is. There's so much information and association with the crime scene. You know exactly what the victim is. You know exactly what evidence is. You know exactly what the purpose. You know exactly what the motive, the purpose of the motive. Your mind is already extremely rich in associations because it's received so much information on what those basic elements are. We are using our mind's knowledge of those basic elements to associate those elements with our basic emotional needs. And associating the perp with the irrelevant false need means your mind starts getting rid of the false need quicker. It starts associating the perp, which is, right, traditionally seen as something that's not good. We don't like the perp. The perp is the bad guy, the unhealthy guy. When we start associating that with the false need, the false need is very strong in our mind because it's the thing that is usually the only thing our mind learned to use to fulfill us in some way, but it's not actually healthy because that's not actually emotional relief. We want to, right, take that out of the equation. So when we start equating the emotional, the perp with the false need, you start making it so that your mind starts perceiving it that way. So you can start getting rid of it quicker because that's the part of the equation. The I need to be beautiful, to be all of the conditioning that should never have existed tied to your emotional needs. That's how you, right? You strategize to get rid of it. I need to be intelligent to be this. I need to be smart. Those things are all false needs. They're actually keeping you here. The quicker you see them and you see them as a perp and your mind associates them that way, the easier it's going to be for you to form the healthy pattern without that part that's creating these things. The easier it's going to be for you to see these things when you're participating in these things, right? And so we're using the mind game is extremely important for a lot of different reasons, right? And on top of that, like I was sharing yesterday, it's important to use up, right? Another strategy that I use on top of that is happy chemicals. I haven't shared that. I think yesterday was the first time that I shared it, or one of these days. Happy chemicals, right? Once you actually start, right? The mind game helps you with this. And once you start fulfilling yourself, right? These were reinforced through chemical reactions, right? There was a need, a feeling, an action, your parent responds, and there was fulfillment. Chemical reaction. There was fulfillment. Right? There was a good, healthy chemical reaction. That's why your mind registered it. Okay, this worked. When there was deficiency, that was a chemical reaction. Your mind registered, this didn't work. We use that information to form the healthy, relevant patterns here. How? When you're here and you're focusing on, okay, this is about attention. Let me focus on attention. Let me tend to myself. Let me sit with myself. Let me perceive what I'm going through. Let me give myself the emotional space. Let me give my mind the info it needs. When you're done with that moment, I shared what I did yesterday in a moment that I had earlier this week. When I was feeling lonely or when I was feeling something, I sat with myself. I tended to myself until the feelings, right, settled. I fulfilled. What I then did, I reinforced it with a chemical reaction. Happy chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, oxytocin, right? It's like, okay, I did this. Let me help my mind reinforce the information I just gave it by going in and let me cause a chemical reaction. Let me reach out to some friends. Let me laugh a little. And you're using your own humanity and your own intelligence and the things that we know about manipulating our own mind to create the healthy, relevant info. I think I did it. It's 12:30. I think I did it. I think I gave you all the info I needed to give you. That was good. I'm glad. I don't think I've done it all like that in one talk. And we didn't go into depth into the mind game, but I ran out of time. It's ingrained. Yeah, it's absolutely ingrained. Until you can't anymore. Do you ever feel lonely with people around? Yes. Yes, Frosty. All the time. All the time. Because, like, my family, I feel alone with being vulnerable, I feel alone with my family all the time. They are not trying to it's very hard to be this person because in a family who is very much stuck in their own individual and like intergenerational trauma, and they're not trying to address it. And I can't do anything about it. All I can do is focus on me, work with me, manage this, and choose right? Find a chosen family. That's what I've done. And I love my family, and I hope one day that changes. I really, really do. But it's hard, and it gets long. That's actually why I was lonely this week. And because there's no reaching to my family when I'm lonely. They don't know how to, they don't. And they often just kind of are hurtful. And look, it's okay. I love me, and I don't need them to do it anymore. I'm okay, and I know how to fulfill, and I have my chosen family. So I don't know. It's a place. And I think that's probably a really relevant conversation to have at some point. I don't think I've talked so much about that, but that's the whole point of, I'm so thankful that I'm not the person who needs them to, because I used to be so tied to how they would respond to things and if they responded to things and if they had mental health. And that was draining, and I wasn't happy, right? And when I gained mental health, I realized, well, I don't need them to see and hear me. It's okay if they don't see and hear me. I see and hear me. I'm enough. I don't need them to make me feel enough. I'm enough. Okay, I can carry it with me. Wait a minute. I don't need... And so that's the beauty of mental health. That's the beauty of mental health, right? That you're not tied to these external things anymore. You can't control other people. You can only control how you respond to these external stimuli. Love all your mental math. Thank goodness. Hello, Jenny. Did you have a great start to the weekend? I'm glad it was a great start to the weekend, Joel. You have a chosen mama. She's amazing and so loving. That's beautiful. You know, sometimes we have to do that. That's absolutely where I am. And I'm very, very thankful for my chosen family. They're like, right? We all need support. So like, they're that place for me to loving me enough. I look forward to that too, Frosty. You're going to get there. You're absolutely going to get there. You're doing a lot of work. Okay, everybody. I appreciate everybody being here. I'm going to switch to Spanish. because I have to be on time, because I have to pick up my nephew for the next week from school. So I'm glad it worked. I'm glad it was helpful. And yeah, we'll go more into stuff next week. Thank you for being here. You're a chosen sister. You're all chosen family for sure. I really appreciate y'all being here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's super sweet. Okay, everybody. Have a phenomenal weekend. Work on your stuff. Just sit with it. Sit with it. Do math, please. Sit with it. Just sit with it, mull it over, look at it. See if it fits for you. See how, find yourself somewhere. Find yourself. Find your thing. Find your, interact with yourself. Interact with your mind. Please. I know it gets scary, but remember, it's not a bad thing. That fear isn't a bad thing. You feel hunger every single day and you don't run away from it. These aren't to be run, you don't run away from these either. We got to change how we perceive them, okay? Okay. I hope I remember this for Spanish. Okay. Hola a todos. Let me just erase this. ¿Cómo están? Gracias por estar aquí. Whew. Oh. Hola, hola, hola. Feliz viernes. Feliz viernes, feliz viernes. Hola Enrique, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están? ¿Cómo se sienten? Es viernes. Lo bueno es que mañana ya es el fin de semana. ¿Cómo están? ¿Cómo les va? Déjenme ver esto bien. No sé si se ve bien. Creo que esto está congelado ya. Okay. Hola, hola. ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué tal? Feliz viernes. Gracias por estar aquí. Se ve como ladeado. Se ve como ladeado. ¿Qué le hice? A ver. Ay. Ahí lo voy a dejar. Porque luego lo muevo y todo se me va. Ah, Michoacán. No, siento que... No sé si estaba en Michoacán. ¿Qué no Michoacán es donde viene la migración de las mariposas? ¿Es Michoacán? ¿O estoy equivocada? Fíjate, ahorita mis papás, mi hermana y mi mamá están en Jalisco. Me mandan fotos. Y yo estoy cuidando de mi sobrino. Sí, no, siento que sí. Sí, el Rosario. Sí, siempre he querido ir. Se ve como que todas las imágenes se ven bonitas de todas las mariposas y... Oh, qué bonito, se ve bien bonito. Ay, en México es tan rico tiene tanta belleza, ¿no? Bueno. ¿Cómo están? Creo que acá tengo el pelo parado. No. Es que como yo lo veo de una manera. Ya. Oh, whatever. Okay. Lo que vamos a hacer hoy. Tengo el pelo bien parado. Lo que vamos a hacer hoy, o lo que voy a intentar hacer hoy, lo hice en inglés y lo acabo de borrar. A ver si lo puedo hacer otra vez. Yo confío en mí. A ver si puedo hacerlo otra vez. Vamos a empezar desde el comienzo hasta el final. Voy a dar un sumario enorme. Estoy intentando, porque pues reconozco que en diferentes días hay diferentes personas que llegan y estamos hablando de cosas y es medio difícil o empezar desde el comienzo. Y lo que vamos a hacer es voy a intentar comunicar un sumario de todo lo que siempre estoy enseñando. No de todo, pero un sumario de lo general. Si estamos hablando de la salud mental es algo que no nos enseñan. La salud mental es algo que se tiene que mantener todos los días. Es una parte de nuestra sobrevivencia, ¿vale? De nuestra sobrevivencia. El saber manejar las emociones y pensamientos difíciles para interactuar de una manera saludable con nuestro entorno. Pero cuando no recibimos la información relevante, pues vamos a estar en ansiedad, en duda, en inseguridad, etcétera, 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 etcétera. En relaciones tóxicas, no pudiendo poner límites, no sabiendo expresarnos de una manera saludable, siempre preocupados por el qué dirán. ¿Sí? No viviendo una vida que nos hace sentir bien. Siempre medio, sí, viviendo aquí, pero acá afuera como que no tanto. Y nos queda un huequito por dentro, ¿vale? Entonces, este espacio es de hablarlo, de hablar de las cosas que no nos enseñan, de ver y percibir de las cosas que normalmente nos causan miedo, de percibirlas de una nueva manera para entender en verdad lo que son. La sociedad nos enseña a correr. La sociedad nos enseña a correr de la ansiedad, ¿sí? De la duda, del enojo, de los celos. Cuando es lo contrario que debemos estar haciendo. Nos mantiene allí el correr de ello, ¿sí? Por eso regresan. Y por eso es tan difícil tratar y manejarlo. La hambre regresa todos los días si tú no corres y no le tienes miedo. La sed regresa todos los días si tú no corres y no tienes miedo. No hay por qué hacer eso con ansiedad, estrés, enojo, ¿vale? Entonces, ¿por qué? Ahí voy, a la 1:30. Hasta la 1:30, a ver si puedo. Yo creo que sí, a ver si pues lo acabo de hacer. Entonces, hay que reconocer que tenemos nuestra sobrevivencia. Desde el comienzo de nuestra existencia, nuestra sobrevivencia está aquí. Nuestra mente nos está ayudando a sobrevivir en cada momento, cada día, todos los días. Nos está ayudando a sobrevivir, a mantener nuestra salud física, fisiológica y a nuestra salud mental, ¿vale? El tema que vamos a hablar es el hecho de que no recibimos la información relevante para mantener y satisfacer las dos. Solo recibimos información relevante sobre las necesidades fisiológicas. De adultos hay que aprender a hacerlo con la salud mental, ¿sí? Para poder sobrevivir de una manera saludable y mantener las dos partes de nuestra existencia, la fisiológica y la mental, ¿vale? Entonces, ¿cómo empezamos? Pues detrás de todo hay patrones. Detrás de toda tu existencia hay patrones muy, muy, muy relevantes que te informan cómo podemos cambiar estas cosas, cómo nos podemos deshacer de la ansiedad, cómo podemos hacer un lado ese miedo, esa inseguridad, esa duda, cómo podemos empezar a poner límites, a expresarnos de una manera auténtica, ¿vale? ¿Qué patrones? ¿De qué patrones estoy hablando? Entonces les voy a dar 3 patrones. Vamos a hablar de 3 patrones y esos patrones son un sumario. No es el patrón completo, pero no lo voy a dar aquí completo porque, bueno, se complica. Y para que quepa todo y lo hagamos todo en el dado tiempo, voy a dar estos patrones, ¿vale? Entonces, el primer patrón consiste de una necesidad, un sentimiento, pensamiento y acción. Lo voy a intentar hacer todo pequeño, pero ojalá y se vea para caber toda la información de hoy, ¿ok? Vale, este patrón, vivimos aquí en este patrón todos los días, ¿sí? Cuando necesitamos comida, nuestro cuerpo registra que le falta nutrición, necesita gasolina para poder tener la energía para seguir con el día. Nos manda hambre, ¿sí? Que registramos por pensamiento, tengo hambre. Y que satisfacemos con acción, comer. Se ve medio raro. Ay, me salió raro. Comer. Eso lo hacemos todos los días. Todos los días. Hambre te sale, sed te sale, sueño te sale, tú no corres. Todos los días, imagínate. ¿Cuántas veces tratas con hambre, con sueño, con sed? Y tú no corres, tú sabes exactamente lo que tiene que decir. ¿Sí? Esta información es todos los días. Tú no paras y piensas, ¿esto qué es? ¿Esto es hambre o es sed? ¿Tengo que ir, sentarme en la taza del baño o me tengo que acostar o tengo que comer? No, tú no haces esas matemáticas mentales. Tú ya sabes, porque fuiste informado de una manera tan relevante en tu niñez que ahora ya sabes qué hacer. No te gastes el tiempo pensando, ¿qué es esto? Sabes exactamente qué hacer para que se haga a un lado, ¿vale? Ahora, ese patrón es el patrón de satisfacción. Discúlpenme si lo escribo mal. Satisfacción. ¿Okay? Ese es el patrón de satisfacción. Ahora, ¿qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa cuando no actúas? Inacción. Cuando no actúas, ¿qué pasa? Si no comes, si tienes una necesidad, sientes hambre y tú no comes y en vez de comer, pues no comes. Diferentes personas, diferentes cosas. Tal vez te enojes. Tal vez te duela la cabeza. Tal vez te duela el estómago, no sé. Diferentes cosas para diferentes personas. ¿Sí? Te enojas. ¿Por qué? Porque estás en deficiencia. Este es el patrón de deficiencia. ¿Sí? El patrón que nos gusta es este. Queremos este. Queremos estar aquí. ¿Sí? Queremos sentir sed, hidratarnos y que se quite la sed. No nos queremos deshidratar. Queremos sentir sueño, descansar y que se nos quite el sueño. No queremos estar fatigados. No queremos estar aquí. Nunca queremos estar aquí. ¿Sí? Ahora la cosa es que esto no nacimos con ello. Ups. Nacimos con esto y con esto. Esa necesidad y ese sentimiento nacimos con ello. No nacimos sabiendo que este sentimiento era hambre, pero el sentimiento ya lo teníamos. Esa hambre, nacimos con la necesidad, ¿sí?, de nutrición, de dormir. Por eso los bebés se les tiene que cambiar, se les tiene que poner a dormir, se les tiene que dar de comer. ¿Sí? Y ahora, de adultos, sabemos todo esto. ¿Por qué? Porque recibimos la información relevante. A ver si cabe. Creo que sí cabe. De una manera inmediata, repetida y consistente. A ver si cabe. Sí, cupo. Recibimos la información relevante inmediatamente, repetidamente y consistentemente una y otra. Y es que ahora no necesitas que tus papás te den de comer. Tú ya sabes. Tú ya sabes qué hacer cuando tienes hambre, cuando comiste muy poquito. Tengo que comer más. Comí demasiado. Deja descanso. Comí algo que me hizo mal. Me tomo este tecito o lo que sea. Tú ahora no te tienes que sentar a hacer tanta matemática. Tú solo lo sabes porque tu mente fue informada inmediatamente, repetidamente y consistentemente tantas veces en tu niñez que tu mente asoció la información y ahora solo la recibes. Y sobrevives. Sobrevives todos los días. ¿Vale? ¿Por qué importa? Porque tú no naciste con ese pensamiento. No naciste con ello. No naciste con ese, tienes sed, haz esto, hidrátate. Tienes sueño, descansa. Tienes frío, abrígate. No naciste con ello. Ese pensamiento es como una cápsula de información sintetizada. Creo que es la palabra propia. Es como una cápsula de toda esta información que te llega y es solo un tienes hambre. Tienes hambre, ya sabes qué quiere decir tienes hambre, tienes una necesidad de comer, esto es hambre, para que se quite tienes que comer. No piensas en todo eso, solo te llega. No naciste con ello. Y al igual que no naciste con esto, tú no naciste con ese pensamiento que te dice que no eres suficiente, que no eres hermosa, que no vale la pena, que nadie te quiere, que no eres lo suficientemente inteligente, ¿sí? Todas esas dudas, todas esas inseguridades, todos esos pensamientos fueron formados y son informados de una manera similar. No naciste con ello. Eso quiere decir que no lo elegiste. Solo sale, ¿vale? Pero puedes hacer algo sobre ello. No tienes que vivir con ello. ¿Esto cómo fue formado? Ok, entonces, pues este es el patrón de nuestra adultez, ¿sí? Esto es lo que nos pasa ahora, pero este patrón viene de otro patrón. Cuando estábamos pequeños, no sabíamos todo esto. Un pequeño no sabe que tiene una necesidad de comer. Un pequeñito no sabe, esto es hambre. Un pequeñito no sabe, ni puede. No puede ir y hacerse de comer. No. Nacimos con la misma necesidad y con la misma señal. Pero no con ese pensamiento. Entonces, ¿qué hacíamos? Pues llorábamos. ¿Sí? Nuestra mente registraba, vale, necesitamos algo. Mando esto y lloramos. Y entonces, ¿qué era la parte importante aquí? Pues cómo nuestros padres responden. En ese instante, lo relevante es el hecho de que tus padres sabían que tú necesitabas algo. Sí, de pequeño tú solo llorabas. Tú solo sientes algo, no sabes lo que es. Tu mente dice, pues, hagamos esto, lloremos. Los padres saben, o va a tener que comer, o va a tener que dormir, o lo tenemos que cambiar, etcétera, etcétera. Va a ser una de estas cosas. ¿Sí? Entonces, te daban de comer. Y eso, tu mente lo registraba. Tu mente lo registraba. Eso pasó tantas veces que tu mente, eso pasó tantas veces inmediatamente, repetidamente y consistentemente, que tu mente registró satisfacción. Una y otra vez. Tu mente dijo, vale, cuando esto pasa, mandamos esta señal. Hacemos esto, pasa esto, nos trabajó. Lo que hicimos sirvió. Entonces dice, pues otra vez, para la próxima, la misma cosa. Para la próxima, la misma cosa. Porque nos satisfació. ¿Nos satisfachó? ¿Satisfacción? ¿Hubo satisfacción? Bueno, ¿vale? Entonces tu mente dice, pues esto trabajó. Entonces, para la próxima, otra vez. Para la próxima, lo mismo. Porque si trabajó, no va a intentar otras cosas. Va a seguir con lo mismo porque obtuvo satisfacción. Una y otra y otra y otra y otra vez. Trabajó, ¿sí? La respuesta fue inmediata, ¿sí? Fue repetida y consistente. Entonces, tu mente registra la información y la registra y hace lo mismo. Y esas asociaciones se van formando, ¿sí? Y se van reforzando. Y la mente va recibiendo más información y más información y va aprendiendo. Entonces, mantiene esa información y mantiene esa respuesta y mantiene haciendo las mismas cosas. Porque le trabajó, le fue bien. Hasta que reciba información sobre cómo hacerlo mejor o más de una manera donde haya satisfacción más eficiente, entonces agrega esa información. Si encuentra una manera más fácil, mejor, más eficiente, agrega eso al banquito de información. Llora hasta que aprende a pedir Vivi. Llora hasta que aprende a pedir Vivi. Y cuando pide Vivi, ¿qué pasa? Más rápidamente llega a satisfacción. Entonces, en vez de llorar, empieza a pedir Vivi. Empieza a pedir Vivi. Porque cuando está llorando, pues los papás no saben qué es. Que si se tienen que cambiar, que si se tienen que dormir, tienen que estar ahí. Pero cuando pide Vivi, la mente registra, esta vez hubo satisfacción y estuvo más rápido, porque ahora cambiamos esta cosa y fuimos más detallados, ¿sí? Entonces, la satisfacción le ayuda a la mente a registrar, esto sirvió, agreguémosle esto, cambiémosle. Sí, vamos a mantener la misma respuesta, vamos a hacer la misma cosa hasta que encontremos mejor información. Entonces se repite. Ahora, ¿qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa cuando... entonces, tenemos esas necesidades físicas, fisiológicas. Nuestra sobrevivencia requiere dos partes. Tiene necesidades fisiológicas, ¿sí? Y, no, creo que esta está muy grande. Fisiológico, tiene necesidades fisiológicas e emocionales, ¿sí? Tiene una salud física que mantener, fisiológica que mantener, que requiere de alivio específico. Específico. ¿Sí? Si tú tienes hambre, tienes que comer. Si tú tienes sed, tienes que hidratarte. Si tienes sueño, tienes que dormir. Si tienes frío, tienes que cubrirte. Si tienes hambre, no puedes cubrirte y pensar que esa hambre se te va a quitar con cubrirte. No, eso es para el frío, ¿sí? Cada necesidad fisiológica requiere de un alivio específico. Es lo mismo con lo emocional. Es lo mismo. Seguridad emocional. Atención. Aceptación. Validación. Afecto y apoyo. Cada una existe y requiere de alivio muy específico. Ahora, cuando estamos hablando de las necesidades fisiológicas, pues nuestros padres sabían. Disculpen, están arreglando un baño. Entonces el ruido que escuchan es eso. Entonces, esto con la comida, ¿sí? Con el sueño, con el frío. Nuestros papás ya sabían que eso existía. Entonces, sabían responder. Pero no saben de esto. Mis papás no saben esto. Mis papás no pensaban cuando yo estaba pequeña y lloraba sabían que tenía, ay, que tenían que preocuparse sobre ello. Pensaban, está llorando, va a necesitar o comida o cambio. No pensaban, tal vez tal vez necesita atención, tal vez no se siente. No, eso no pasó, porque como una humanidad no hablamos de estas cosas, no participamos en estas cosas, no las distinguimos. Pero es importante. Es como pensar que el agua y la comida son la misma cosa. No, son dos cosas muy diferentes y tienen que ser satisfechas de una manera muy específica. Estamos evolucionando para entender qué es lo mismo con esto. Entonces, ¿qué pasó? Ahora lo tenemos que hacer de adultos, pero el tema es que, ¿qué pasó? Pues, la verdad es que cuando de pequeño necesitabas atención, cuando te salía esa necesidad, tu mente te mandaba una señal. ¿Sí? ¿Y tú qué hacías? Pues llorar, porque es lo que sabemos hacer de pequeños. Pero en esto, la respuesta no era igual, porque pues obviamente nuestros padres no saben. Mis padres no sabían que esto era algo. Entonces la respuesta fue muy diferente. No fue consistente, no fue repetida, no fue inmediata. Porque ellos no saben, porque no sabían. Entonces, ¿qué? Cuando esto pasaba, yo lo sentía y lloraba, ¿qué pasaba? ¿Cuál era la respuesta? Varió. Puede ser que se enojaban, puede ser que me ignoraban, puede ser que se enojaban, puede ser que pegan, ¿así se dice? Etcétera, etcétera, etcétera. Ahora, la mente dice, pues esto está pasando, necesitamos esto, mandamos una señal y lloramos para que respondan a nuestra necesidad. Pero aquí no hubo respuesta concreta, no hubo respuesta inmediata, no hubo respuesta repetida ni consistente. Entonces, ¿qué pasó? Pues en vez de dar satisfacción, la mente registró deficiencia porque no recibió la información necesaria. Entonces dijo, pues voy a hacer esto. No, pues no, es que no puedo hacer esto porque no nos fue bien. No se sintió bien cuando hicimos eso. No puedo hacer esto porque, no, pues es que va a pasar esta cosa. Tu mente dice, no, eso no trabajó. Luz roja. En vez de luz verdes, esto sí sirvió, lo podemos seguir haciendo, lo podemos seguir haciendo. No pasó eso. Entonces la mente no lo asoció. No se informó. No fue satisfecha. Entonces, en vez de la información relevante, donde al banquito solo le entra la información relevante y va agregando la información, mejor información, para hacerse más eficiente, en vez de esa información, la mente registró cualquier información que de alguna manera te diera satisfacción. Puede ser que tal vez tú solo te diera satisfacción, alivio 5%, no 100%, 5%, 10%. ¿Sí? Entonces, ¿qué pasó? Aquí no fue registrando la información necesaria. Entonces tu mente pues se quedó con la información que le dieran. ¿Sí? Entonces, ¿qué pasó? Pues hubo una falta de información, registró una enorme falta de información. No sé si quepa ver. Falta de información porque no hubo satisfacción. No registró la información relevante. Y información irrelevante fue asociada. Dos cosas pasaron. Hubo una enorme falta de información información irrelevante que fue asociada a la necesidad original. Primero, nunca aprendiste que tenías esa necesidad. Tu mente nunca la registró, porque tus papás tampoco sabían. Nunca registraste las señales para cada una. Y nunca registraste cómo satisfacerla, cómo actuar para satisfacerla o mejores maneras de hacerlo, porque nunca recibiste satisfacción para ello. Solo recibiste información que no es relevante, que si solo vas a ser visto y escuchado si te vistes así, si te portas así, si hablas así, si tienes este título, si te ves así, si tienes este dinero, si tienes esa casa, si tienes ese coche, si tienes esa pareja, si responde, ¿sí? Solo el 5%, ¿sí? Sí, cuando les doy un ejemplo que siempre les doy. Cuando yo era pequeña, pues obviamente mis papás no sabían satisfacer. Mi mente no recibió la información relevante. Entonces, cuando yo necesitaba seguridad emocional y no me sentía bien, mi mente no tenía la información relevante porque pues aprendió que no podía expresarse, no podía hablar estas cosas, no tenía cómo satisfacerse de una manera relevante. Lo que aprendió, mi mente dijo, pues bueno, nos sentimos así, no nos sentimos bien. Pero ¿sabes qué? Aquí en mis archivos tengo que, cuando comemos ese pastel nos sentimos mejor. Cómete pastel, ya comimos, pero pues no nos sentimos bien y es lo único que sabemos hacer. En ese momento, en ese otro día nos sentimos bien cuando hicimos eso. Hagamos eso, porque tu mente te está intentando ayudar a sobrevivir en cada momento. Y si no tiene la información relevante, te va a dar lo que tiene. Y así se forman estas adicciones. Adicciones a las cosas, adicciones a las personas, adicciones a los substances, a las cosas tóxicas. Que a la bebida, mi papá era un alcohólico, todas estas cosas. A la inteligencia, que yo soy la persona más inteligente y tú no eres inteligente como yo. Al perfeccionismo, todas estas adicciones, de aquí vienen. ¿Sí? Porque esa es la única forma de satisfacción que tu mente recibió. Ese 5% de satisfacción. Y por eso seguimos pues en el rojo. Cada una de estas, si lo pensamos bien, cada una de estas ¿sí? Cada necesidad requiere del mismo patrón. Debió de haber seguido el mismo patrón que esto, pero no lo recibió. ¿Sí? Cada una tiene una señal específica que la señala, que aún existe, aún sale, solo que no la hemos asociado. Sale. Yo la he encontrado con mucho trabajo, me he deshecho de la pata irrelevante, sale. Cuando tu mente te señala tienes una necesidad, necesitas atención, esa atención tiene una señal muy específica. No te puedo decir lo que es porque pues ese es el punto de que todos tenemos que hacer ese trabajo. Yo no sé decirte lo que es tu hambre. Eso fue asociado, ¿sí? Y por eso dejo esto aquí. No le tengo nombre, no sé el nombre, no le he puesto nombre a esa cosa. Y al igual, debemos de saber satisfacerlo. Y actuar para hacerlo a un lado, punto final. No recibimos la información. Lo que pasó fue esta información irrelevante. Y esta información irrelevante nos mantiene en deficiencia. Esto es el origen de cada inseguridad. De cada inseguridad que tú tienes, este es el origen. Esto pasó tanto, tu mente le falta tanta información relevante y solo registró tanta información irrelevante que ahora tú tienes esta experiencia. Cuando tienes esa ansiedad que no sabes manejar, esas dudas, esos pensamientos que hacen dudar de ti. Cuando estás actuando de una manera que en verdad no es saludable. El origen de todas esas cosas es esto. Imagínense un sistema defensivo digital. Imagínense un sistema defensivo de defensa digital. Si ese sistema de defensa está programado con información mala, esa defensa no va a servir, va a estar insegura. ¿Sí? Nuestra sobrevivencia es física y emocional. Pero si al nivel de salud mental, si a nivel emocional no tenemos la información necesaria, estamos siempre en este lugar. Resulta este lugar. ¿Sí? Vivimos en ese lugar de inacción. Al igual que acá arriba, cuando no comemos nos enojamos, cuando no nos hidratamos nos quedamos deshidratados, cuando no dormimos nos quedamos fatigados, cuando no nos cubrimos y hay frío, ¿sí? Pueden haber consecuencias muy graves. Cuando estamos aquí y no tenemos la información relevante, solo información que es irrelevante y no es satisfacción, no es alivio emocional. Ese coche, esa persona, esa situación, esa entrevista, no es alivio emocional. Es información irrelevante que nunca debió haber sido asociada a nuestras necesidades emocionales. Por eso estamos inseguros. De ahí nace esa inseguridad. Ese sistema defensivo digital tiene mala información. Y por eso resultamos aquí. Esto resulta en ansiedad, ¿sí? Enojo, estrés, duda, todo. Cuando tú no puedes poner límites, cuando no puedes expresarte auténticamente, tú no eliges esas cosas. Están basadas en inseguridad, en una inseguridad mental. Por información que no recibiste y por información que registró tu mente al intentar ayudarte a sobrevivir. Cuando no le dieron más, cuando no le dieron la información relevante. Hay todo un hueco y te da lo que tenga. Si tu mente nunca registró la información relevante, te va a dar lo que tenga. Pues ¿sabes qué? Estas personas valoran cuando alguien tiene trabajo. Estas personas valoran cuando uno se viste así. Mi entorno valora cuando esto. Esa información es irrelevante. Y por eso, ahora, tú tienes inseguridades. Eso es la inseguridad. Tú no las eliges. Es una receta. Esto es una receta. Si tienes los ingredientes, pues la receta te sale bien, el pastel te sale bien. Pero si no tienes los ingredientes necesarios y tal vez tienes ingredientes que están echados a perder o que no pertenecen en la receta, no te va a salir bien la receta. No te la vas a poder comer. ¿Vale? Eso es esto. Y por eso es extremadamente importante percibir que cada inseguridad y cada momento donde sentimos, pensamos o hacemos algo que es muy incómodo, que no es saludable, cada una de esas partes no es un problema. La ansiedad no es un problema. La hambre no es un problema. La ansiedad, esas cosas son señales que tu mente te manda y forman parte de la solución. Forman parte de la solución. No corras. Tu mente te está informando de la única manera que puede que te falta algo. Que te falta algo. No corras. La sociedad nos enseña a correr. La sociedad nos enseña a huir, no pensar en ello, que si piensas en esto y te dejas llevar por ello, eres débil. No. No. Si tú estás enojado porque no has comido, tú no corres de ese enojo. Si estás deshidratado, no corres de eso, ¿sí? Si estás fatigado porque no has dormido en días, obviamente es relevante, no corras de ello, descansa. Tenemos que empezar a percibir estas cosas de la misma manera. Es solo nuestra mente informándonos sobre ello. sobre algo que necesitamos. Y ahora es nuestro turno rellenar la información que nunca nos dieron de una manera relevante. ¿Sí? ¿Cómo se hace eso? Pues aquí hemos jugado medio, no tengo mucho espacio, pero aquí hemos hablado bastante del juego de la mente. Esto, a ver, ¿cómo le hago? Bueno, voy a hacer espacio aquí. Esto se empieza a cambiar. Esto y cómo percibimos esto se empieza a cambiar cuando juegas el juego de la mente. El juego que hemos jugado aquí muchas veces, que les he platicado muchas veces, ese juego tiene varias razones, ¿sí? El jugar ese juego, que la escena del crimen, que la víctima, ¿sí? La evidencia, el victimario y el motivo. No tengo el espacio para hablarlo todo aquí, pero esto se empieza a abordar cuando jugamos el juego de la mente. Que la escena del crimen es tu mente, que la víctima eres tú, la evidencia son los síntomas, el victimario es la necesidad falsa, es la información irrelevante, y el motivo, pues, es la necesidad emocional, es lo que estamos intentando encontrar, entender y satisfacer de una manera saludable. Esto importa, tú no puedes manejar y controlar a las demás personas. No puedes controlar cómo van a responder. No puedes cambiarlas. No puedes forzar a alguien que haga algo. Solo puedes manejar lo que tú sientes y piensas y cómo actúas. Solo puedes tú manejar lo que está aquí y cómo respondes, interactúas con tu entorno de una manera saludable. Es la única cosa que tú puedes cambiar. ¿Vale? Entonces, esto es importante y les doy siempre las 5 partes porque esto trabaja a varios niveles. Es una estrategia. Es una estrategia de informarle a nuestra mente con la información que le falta de una manera que satisface toda la manera en la que nuestra mente le gusta aprender. Tú sabes hacer esto y responder a esa hambre porque recibiste la información necesaria una y otra vez de una manera inmediata, repetida y consistente. Cuando tú haces esto una y otra vez, el momento que a ti se te haga aburrido este juego, porque ya lo sabes jugar tanto, eso es bueno. Cuando tú empiezas a jugar este juego una y otra vez y se te hace aburrido, eso es bueno. Porque quiere decir que le has estado informando a tu mente de una manera repetida, inmediata y consistente tanto que tú no tienes ya que sentarte a hacer notas. Tú solo sabes jugarlo. Eso quiere decir que tu mente ha empezado a formar asociaciones relevantes y te las está dando. ¿Sí? Está registrando satisfacción. ¿Sí? Y esto es importante porque estamos usando otra estrategia. Entonces, esa es una parte de la estrategia, ¿sí? Estás informándote de una manera relevante, ¿sí? El victimario es la parte del jueguito de la que nos queremos deshacer. Esas condiciones que nos pusieron, tú no vales la pena a menos que estés bella, atractiva, estés rico, seas inteligente, tengas todo, estés titulada, tengas esa pareja. Esa es la información irrelevante deficiente, que nos mantiene de eficiencia, que nos mantiene aquí. No queremos esa información. Esa información no es relevante a nuestras necesidades emocionales. Queremos deshacernos de ella. Entonces, esto es mucho trabajo, pero cuando empezamos a usar una estrategia sabiendo la información que ya tiene nuestra mente, cuando usamos el conocimiento de esto para informar a nuestra mente sobre esto, se nos hace más fácil. Por ejemplo, tu mente no tiene información sobre esto. Le faltan muchas partes. Hay que rellenarlo. Hay que empezar aquí, jugar el jueguito y empezar a rellenar las partes. Bueno, pero tu mente ya sabe, ya tiene mucha información sobre lo que es una escena del crimen. Muchísima información. La razón por la que yo creé este jueguito, y se me hizo tan fácil crearlo de esta manera, es porque pues yo soy abogada, y me gusta mucho me gustaba mucho ver programas de como el ley y el orden. Entonces mi mente sabía lo que era una escena del crimen, sabía lo que es una víctima, sabe lo que es evidencia, sabe lo que es el victimario, sabe lo que es el motivo. Por las películas, por el programa, que por los libros, que por artículos, que por cosas que hablas con gente o con personas. Tu mente ya tiene muchísima información sobre esto, ya sabe exactamente lo que es una escena del crimen, ya sabe lo que es estas. Entonces, cuando juegas este juego, estás usando la información que tu mente ya tiene para empezar a ayudarte a formar asociaciones con esto, ¿sí? Para registrar la necesidad, que es el motivo, para registrar el sentimiento, que es la evidencia, ¿sí? Y lo ves como evidencia. Empezar a ver estas cosas como evidencia de algo. Usas el concepto que ya tienes de lo que es evidencia para asociarlo con esto, para dejar de percibirlo como algo malo. Usas la evidencia que ya tienes sobre la información que ya tienes sobre el motivo para entender que este es el porqué. Este es el porqué. Usas la información que ya tienes sobre el victimario. El victimario, todos sabemos que el victimario es la persona mala. ¿Sí? Es la persona que tenemos que poner en la cárcel. Usas la información que tu mente ya tiene asociada con el victimario para que empiece a identificar esta cosa como el victimario. Que el victimario no es bueno. No queremos ser el victimario. Este es el victimario. Que esta cosa, el tener que ser perfecta. No, eso no es bueno. No me quiero asociar con eso. Esa es la información falsa. Tu mente empieza a asociar toda la información que ya tiene con este concepto a este concepto, para que tú te deshagas de ello más rápido, para que tú no vivas aquí. ¿Sí? Entonces, esto tiene varios niveles de trabajar. Y la verdad es que cuando yo lo estaba creando, no entendí todo esto. No sabía que estaba haciendo todo esto, solo lo estaba haciendo y me estaba sirviendo y lo seguía haciendo. ¿Sí? Y entonces, esto es muy importante porque esto no solo nos afecta al nivel individual, nos afecta al nivel social. Al nivel individual, esto pasa. Al nivel psicológico individual. Pero cuando varias personas se juntan, cuando varias personas inseguras se juntan, ¿sí? Al nivel sociológico, este es el nivel individual, psicológico. Cuando varias personas se juntan al nivel sociológico en un grupo, esto resulta en la patriarquía, en cosas como la patriarquía, el capitalismo, la supremacía blanca, ¿sí? No sé cómo decirlo, imperialismo, hableísmo. Así se crean esos sistemas estructurales. Piénsenlo. Que la patriarquía, solo estas personas son las personas más fuertes, más inteligentes, las únicas que pueden crear cosas. No, esto es basado en inseguridad, porque esas personas solo aprendieron que ellos necesitan ser vistos de esa manera. que este sexo es más capaz. Que el capitalismo, que tienes que ser explotado, ¿sí? Para hacer dinero, que las personas no importan, y que ciertas personas no hay que ser tan valoradas. Igual, hay que explotar a las personas, no verles el valor. Que la supremacía blanca, solo ciertas personas son civiles, son bellas, son capaces, son inteligentes. No, es que estas personas aprendieron que esa era la única manera de hacerse vistos y escuchados y nunca ver a los demás. No valorar a los demás por su humanidad, es quitarle la humanidad a ellos. El imperialismo, que tú tienes esta tierra, estos recursos, te los tengo que quitar, tú no sabes manejarlos. No, es quitarle la humanidad a esas personas, a nunca verlas, a nunca escucharlas, etcétera, etcétera, etcétera. ¿Vale? Todo está basado en la salud mental y más específicamente en la falta de esa salud mental y la falta de educación sobre nuestras necesidades emocionales básicas que cada ser humano tiene. Las guerras solo existen por esto y están basadas en esto. Si todos los seres humanos, si todos los líderes valoraran a cada ser humano, vieran a cada ser humano como igual y la capacidad, valoraran la capacidad de cada ser humano y por su inteligencia, esto no existiría. Trabajaríamos juntos. No, porque las personas y los líderes sabrían hablar las cosas difíciles. Valorarían cada vida, no la matarían como si fuera cualquier cosita. Esto solo existe por esto, por esa información mental y por el hecho de que personas no trabajan en su salud mental y no se hacen responsables por esa salud mental. Estamos evolucionando para ver eso, para llegar a ese lugar, para deshacernos de esto, para manejar esto y formar patrones relevantes, saludables. ¿Sí? Para deshacernos de todo lo rojo, para no vivir en ello, porque ahora la humanidad vive en ello, vive aquí. Se me pasó muy rápido el día. Y lo bueno es que si lo saqué. Pude sacarlo todo. Pues eso. Lo bueno es que lo pude sacar medio. Estoy practicando hacer esto de una manera más eficiente, una manera donde, dependiendo del día de quién viene, pueden recibir la información relevante. Porque esto es difícil intentar comunicar en tantas partes, no sé. Pero bueno, me dio gusto que lo pude hacer hoy. Ojalá que les haya servido y ayudado. La verdad es que ni vi si había comentarios. No. Ok, good. Pues bueno, ese es mi tiempo por hoy. No tuve mucho tiempo de conversar, pero les agradezco mucho que hayan estado aquí. Tengo esta semana, hasta la semana que viene voy a estar cuidando a mi sobrino, entonces tengo que irme a tiempo para poder ir por él a la escuela. Les agradezco mucho su tiempo, les agradezco mucho que hayan estado aquí escuchando. Tómense un tiempecito este fin de semana para trabajar esto de alguna manera, para ver esto, para cuestionar esto. Cuestiónenlo, cuestiónense así, ¿sí? La salud mental también se trata de saber cuestionar la información que reciben, de entenderla. No solo crean cosas, cuestiónenla. Entiéndanla para ustedes. Tal vez ustedes encuentran algo diferente. Eso es lo saludable, ¿vale? Encuentren algo, dense un tiempecito y disfruten de su fin de semana. Aquí nos vemos otra vez la semana que viene, lunes a viernes de 12:30 a 1:30 en español, ¿vale? Gracias por estar aquí. Gracias por compartir su tiempo. Eso fue todo por hoy. ¿Ok? Se me cuidan y nos vemos la semana que viene.